Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. In this video, I'm going to show you how I prepared my truck for truck bed coating, and the product I used was iron armor from Harbor & Freight. As you can see, the first thing I did was tape everywhere that I did not want to accidentally sand, because the first thing you're going to do is sand with 120 to 220 grit sandpaper, and that's what it says on the directions on the back of the can. So I started off by just doing the rails first. I kind of wanted to see how this would lay down before I did the whole truck bed. So I started off by sanding the rails with 120 grit sandpaper using my orbital sander. I just used this for anywhere that was flat. Then I went back with just sandpaper and sanded all of the grooves or anything that I couldn't get with the orbital sander. And then to apply this, I used a roller and a brush. I used the brush to get into any crease that I couldn't get to. And then I used the roller for any of the flat spots. And for the roller, I used a semi-smooth textured roller. That way I could get a similar texture along the whole surface of the rail. And just so you guys don't make the same mistake I did, don't do this in direct sunlight. Right now I'm doing it in the evening and the sun is just beating down from the west. And it's making the product dry really quickly. So it's hard to get the same texture along the whole rail. Oh, and then make sure you wear a mask because this stuff is really stinky. I'm not sure what kind of fumes are coming off that, but it is very, very stinky. And I'm sure you don't want any of those fumes going into your lungs. And this is what it looked like after I pulled the tape off. I pulled the tape off maybe 2 hours after I finished. That way the product was dried enough that it didn't drip, but not enough that it started ripping off anywhere that I didn't want to pull off. And then after I did the rails, I started back at sanding the bed. I just started off with the flat areas with 120 grit. And sanding is by far the longest part of this project. I wanted to make sure that I got every single corner, every single edge, every groove on the truck because I didn't want anything to start peeling, because once one spot starts peeling, it doesn't take much, even if you did sand the other spots, for it to peel there as well. You just want to make sure you take your time and make sure you sand every spot that you can. And then one tool that helped me get into all of the grooves was this wire brush, and I just used it for anywhere that had curved surfaces or anywhere that was hard to reach. Another tool that was helpful was this round abrasive ball. It said it was 80 grit. I don't think it really should count as 80 grit, maybe 220 grit, but it did help me get into all of the corners and cracks. And then for the bed of the truck, in between all of these raised surfaces, I just used some sanding blocks and put them next to each other, and that was the perfect width. And then I just turned them and did the edges of those raised spots. And honestly, that seemed to work the best out of anything I tried. It did take a bit longer to do it by hand, but it's well worth it. And then I washed the truck with soap and water just to get off any grease and all of the dust and debris that was caused from sanding. And then I removed all of the hardware on the truck because I didn't want any of it to be covered in the truck bed coating. And I thought it'd be easier to apply the truck bed coating with all of those removed. And then what I did was I took the Iron Armor truck bed spray that you can also find at Harbor Freight and sprayed all of the corners and anywhere that I thought would be hard to reach with a brush or with the roller. And that's what it looked like after I did all of that. And now it looks like it's ready for the roller and the brush. And I learned my lesson this time, so I turned my truck around. That way the sun wasn't beating down on me or the truck, causing the product to dry quicker. And then I just used the roller and started in the back of the truck, and then used the brush for any tight spots or anywhere I couldn't get with the roller. And then when it comes to applying the product, make sure you try to get as much on your roller as possible, and then roll it out, and then get more on, and then roll it out. You're just going to want to try to apply it as thick as possible. I found that it was much easier to work with when I had a lot more on my brush. And then also, I used a smaller roller. I think it's a 4 or 5 inch roller, and I found that was much easier to apply the product. I used the bigger roller when I did my second coat, just to give it a little bit more even texture, but I found that the smaller roller was much easier to work with. So overall, sanding and prep took the longest, but applying the product surprisingly took longer than I thought it would. It took about an hour and a half. And this is what it looked like after the first coat was done. I pulled off all the tape, but I did go ahead and do a second coat on anything that looked like the white was showing through. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I like the texture of it. I'm just hoping it holds up, so I'll post another video in 6 months or so just to show how this product held up over time. So yeah, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. But thanks for watching. See ya.